Hey guys, welcome back. What are we going to talk about today?
So today we're going to talk about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's talk about you and me. So this video is, disclaimer guys, so this video is really catered for those persons 18 years and older. I'm sorry to the younger folks, the younger viewers. It's really not your kind of party today.
Anyway, so hope you guys enjoy it and stick around.
Hey there, I'm Shamaine.
And I'm Rashad.
And we're the Prospers. So guys, like I said before, this week's topic is about sex, right? Sex within marriage. What were our expectations before? How was the wedding night? Were our expectations fulfilled? And the whole works.
Did I really touch your soul or not?
Right, so we both come from Christian households, and I can speak for me. In my family, the topic of sex was not really spoken of much. The only thing that was really said is that, you know, sex is for marriage and you should not fornicate, and you know, it's a sin when you do it outside of marriage, and tra-la-la, tra-la-la, tra-la-la. Your girl didn't really know much about sex.
That's so weird, because in my family, from the time I remember one time my dad and I was like maybe 5 at the time, we were watching some national television show, and they were talking about, you know, sexual health and men's health and female health, and then the lady had mentioned the word penis, and then when she said it, I started giggling, kiki. My dad and I were watching it together, and my dad was like, "Son, what are you laughing at, son?" And it's like, "Nothing, daddy, nothing." And he's like, "Seriously, son, what are you laughing at?" I say, "She said penis." And then that's how we had the topic about the birds and the bees and sex. But I was like, "Listen, son, this is not how my dad sounds, but you know, it's just more dramatic for camera purposes. It's like, son, you know what, you know, in life, there are men and women. Women have a particular sexual organ, it's called the vagina. Men have their sexual organ, it's called the penis. And sex happens in the context of marriage when a man and a woman come together and the man inserts his penis into the woman's vagina." And
So then the little that I knew about sex, the act of sex, was gathered from my friends in high school, in college, university. That's how I gathered my information. So I wasn't really versed in the sex topic.
And that's one of the things that I've come to realize, that when Christian families don't speak about sex in the household, it doesn't get spoken about in church. So then a lot of the Christian young people, they get to learn sex through the eyes of their classmates, their schoolmates, through the eyes of society. And right now we're living in a world where the view on sex in society is just so messed up.
Yeah.
Way more messed up than it was 20 years ago when you were learning about sex.
And so I grew up with this fear of sex, of having sex. Why? When I saw my period for the first time, my mom, she told me this. I remember it as clear as day.
So you can go now and get pregnant because you're seeing your period.
That's what she said. So I grew up with this fear. If at the moment I have sex, I am going to get pregnant. So I do not want to have sex. I do not even want to kiss a boy, because the kissing can lead to sex and the sex can lead to the baby.
At least you didn't say that you kiss him and you get pregnant. At least you didn't.
So that fear of sex was instilled in me from very, very, very small. So coming to the wedding night, I was scared, like really scared as to what to expect. But we will talk about that later on in the video. So we want to just share some tips to couples, like those who are engaged and thinking about getting married. How should we approach this topic of sex in our relationship, right? So 1, be open with each other. Speak about expectations. Please do not avoid the topic of sex. Yes, we are young Christians, but we are humans. And you know, one of the things that most couples look forward to in marriage is having sex, consummating the marriage.
That's true.
Right? So speak to your partner and let them know your expectations. You know, what do you know about sex, babe?
Well, what I know about sex is that when I was 6, my dad was like, "Son, So, but I do agree with Shumin in terms of figuring out what is it that we understand about. I like that point. What is it that you understand about sex, especially as a Christian young person growing up in a Christian household, especially if it may not have been spoken about in your church or your youth groups.
Yeah.
You know, I remember there was a video going around about this pastor talking about different sex positions being evil, and he was saying doggy style is of the devil and whatnot. And you know, a lot of people found it funny, but then it kind of sparked a conversation that I was having with some people, and we realized, hey, we don't speak about sex in church. We don't speak about what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, or you know, the Bible says that the marriage bed is undefiled. What does that mean?
It's an honorable thing.
It's an honorable thing, but what does that mean?
And then another thing that we have to take into consideration as well is that the act of sex, or sex in itself, is more than the physical act of penetration and everything like that. It's actually a union of your mind, your body and soul together as a couple. It's actually you pleasuring your husband and your husband pleasuring you, vice versa. So it's really more than the physical. And for me, before marriage, I never thought of it that way. I just always used to think about the act of sex and just it being wrong, and just wait until marriage to put the penis in the vagina. Ja, se acabó.
But the thing about it is, I remember listening to a preacher, he was saying that, you know what, marriage is a representation, a marriage between a man and a wife is a representation of the union between Christ and the church. And the act of sex, sexual pleasure and sexual gratification is a symbol of the euphoria or the pleasure that the church will feel when they get reunited with Christ again in eternity. When he said that, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. I thought, like you said, I thought sex was just something that you do for fun, and if you do it out of marriage, you end up tying yourself to other souls and bringing all these people along with you for the rest of your life. And so that was in our foundation, our family foundation, how we got introduced into the idea of sex. Growing up, our idea of sex was kind of tainted, at least for mine, because we grew up in the era of like Vibes Cartel and Movado and all of these things. That's back in the day when dancehall music was a big thing, and all these guys would speak about on their music was just sex. But I always found this music to be so crude, you know? Just talking about this and that, and I mean, I don't have to explain to you guys what it is.
To me, it was kind of like cave-like.
Yeah, it was like just barbaric.
Yeah, like just riding it and sucking it, and like it was, it was
gays and
and that's what our generation grew up with. Like that's the sexual content that was really out there for us. So I feel like it was hard for us because sex was everywhere, bombarded with sex, just the act of sex. That's what the media portrays, just the act of sex. So guys, point number 2. So I believe that yes, sex in itself is an act of worship unto God. Is that it's honorable and the bed undefiled. So the same way that we would prepare for an exam, we prepare to give our best at work, everything, I feel like we should prepare to give the best of ourselves to our partner. In preparing, one, you do your research. I feel like you should research different sex positions, simple how to give a good blowjob, how should a woman prepare herself for, the act of sex. Shave, my ladies. Shave. Buy the nice lingerie. Buy the nice perfumes. Buy the nice body sprays. Prepare yourself for your husband. Like how they prepared Esther and the girls in the temple to meet the king. I feel like we are queens and we should present ourselves as queens, as that way to our husbands, right? So do all the research that you can. One thing that Rashad taught me is that don't be afraid to read. Don't be afraid to educate yourself. Because for me, that was taboo. I felt like it was all part of... I'm not saying to go and watch porn. I'm saying to read.
No, and actually, porn is very, very, very
dangerous.
It distorts your view of reality.
Exactly.
We're going to have a video of that where we're going to talk about my experience with porn and the experience other people have shared.
Because you see how they're doing their things in the porn videos, and you go enter your sex life in your marriage with those expectations, and when those expectations are not fulfilled, then you become unhappy, and then people tend to cheat because they were looking for that certain thing that they saw and their partner could not give it to them.
But even for guys as well, you know, she spoke about the women shaving and stuff. Guys as well have to become prepared. Now there's this mentality that, you know, in the dance hall culture and even growing up, that bad man doesn't do this, bad man doesn't do that, you know, real men don't pleasure their women, real men don't do things. Guys, learn, read, speak to people who you are comfortable with. I remember before I got married, there was when I was younger, the men in my church that would get married, my dad would speak to them. I remember he never really wanted me to hear. He's like, you know, when you're getting married, we'll have that conversation. And I remember there was my youth leader at the time. When he was getting married, my dad pulled him aside, and my dad was saying, you know, like just before they closed the door to go have their conversation, he's like, let me teach you some of my moves, you know, let me teach you some of my techniques. They went, they had their conversation. He came back out. The youth leader's face is like the man was mortified. I feel like my father told him all kind of things, but it shows that they had never spoken about sex in the context of a Christian setting.
Yeah.
So much so that when the guy left with his face mortified, I was a little scared. And then my dad looks up to me, looks down to me because I was short at the time, and he's like, you know, when it's your turn, I'm gonna give you even the best secrets that I kept from him. I was like, jeez, boy. You know, so
Yes.
you know, so men need to learn how to pleasure their women.
Educate yourself.
Educate
What's that thing you
yourself.
used to read, the men's magazine?
What?
To like about how to pleasure a woman and all
It's
these
just
things.
like articles on men's health. But I do advise you, in order to stay away from falling into sexual temptation, do that research
Closer to.
very close to
Yeah.
your wedding day.
Exactly.
If you're getting married next week, start your research.
Yeah.
If you're getting married in 2-3 days, your research needs to be down pat. Go get your condoms ready.
Yep.
Get your lubrication ready.
And as you're talking about lubrication, I think sorry to cut you off. A couple of days before my wedding, my mother sat me down. That was such an uncomfortable conversation because, like I said before, sex was not spoken of much at my home. Like, so she sat me down. She was like, Shaman, you bought your lingerie already? I'm like, I was really taken aback that she would come and ask me that question. You bought your lingerie already? I'm like, I bought 1 or 2. She's like, let's go and order some. I'm like, what?
Mind you, when you save lingerie for the last minute, you don't get the best quality. You get what's available.
But I actually got good ones.
I mean, you got good ones, but I know you could have done
Then
better.
she was like, I know it's going to be your first time, and down there it's going to be very, very tight. So buy this particular lube, the KY jelly in the baby boob bottle. That's what we use in the hospital, and tralala, tralala. I'm like, it's like so weird your mommy knowing that you're going to be having sex and everything like that.
Your mother preparing you for sex, but that's what the Bible actually says. The Bible says, you know, the older women should train the younger women.
Yeah.
You know, when she was telling me about that lubrication thing, I was like, boy, we don't need that. We're 2 young people. But it just so happened that her mother knew something that we didn't know. And what that was that when you're having sex for the first time, in the context of doing it right, you get nervous.
Yeah.
And when you get nervous, you don't get as lubricated as you would like to be because it's like you're finally getting to do it right.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just a lot of pressure to do it the right way, in the right place, in the right time. And it's like, you know, being married is not just about the sex. You're happy to be with this person. It's like, but you really want to have sex. It's something you're looking forward to. But it's like your emotions are just all over the place. It really does help.
Yep. And then she went on to say, so you're gonna have to tell Rashad to go very slow, to be very gentle, because you can bleed very easily. Babe, I was so traumatized.
And even for guys as well, on the same point that she's saying, your very first time when you're having sex with your wife, be gentle.
Yeah.
It's not about you see this thing in a movie. And like we said, porn really messes up your view of reality.
Yeah.
It is her first time. It's not about going fast, going super hard, super deep. Take your time. It may very well be that your first time you may not even have penetrated sex.
Yeah.
Which is what happened to us. It took us a long time to make it work. Like we had tried for like half a day.
Yeah, and that what happens to some guys, and I know, I think it happened to you as well, where premature ejaculation.
Yeah.
So you're so excited to finally partake and consume your marriage.
And then afterwards, I wasn't anymore.
So you come prematurely, you ejaculate prematurely, and probably your wife would be there, like she's in the mood and just waiting and like, I'm sorry, babe.
Or she might be very relieved because it was her first time and it was very painful. And she's like, boy, you know what? Let me get a little break. I didn't know how to tell him no, but you know what? I really like that break. So, I mean, it's just a matter. Listen, the first time I went into the supermarket to buy condoms, when I was getting married, I felt like a boss. I didn't have anything to hide. I bought like 5 boxes and I just put them on the counter, plop, 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 plop.
Oh.
And I watched the cashier in her eyes and she watched me in my eyes and I watch her back in her eyes. She's like, you're gonna have a fun night tonight. I say, yeah. I was still nervous, but I felt like I was now in the position in society where I was now one of the people who could just walk in and just buy condoms.
And then a woman, like, I know that it's going to be, especially if you're a virgin, it's going to be very uncomfortable because a man probably has never seen you naked before and probably you're insecure in your body, so you're probably going to want to hide on the wedding night and cover yourself. I understand that. But as time goes by, you're going to become very comfortable with your partner. You are going to just walk naked past him and allow him to explore your body. It's like your body is now his and his body is yours. And men love to explore.
Love to explore. Do your research. It's not just about starting sex, penetration. Spend time. Start
And
with the lips.
foreplay. That's a foreplay.
Yeah. Lips move down to neck, bosom, belly. You do everything you have to do. Loins.
Yeah.
Everything.
So my thing is, try not to come into the marriage with too high of an expectation for sex, because the two of you are just, for those who are virgins, you're just starting off, and it may be very, very uncomfortable, or you may be very clumsy the first couple of times, but it's just the two of you. Take your time, try again, learn each other's bodies, learn different techniques, get the Kama Sutra, and try to be creative in your marriage.
And get the Songs of Solomon as well. Get the Song of Solomon and the Kama Sutra.
That Kama Sutra, let me tell you how. Richard used to speak about it before. But I think a couple days before the wedding, my parents' church had a couples meeting. They have it like every third Saturday of the month. And I think it was my dad that started talking about the Kama Sutra and the sex positions and everything like that. So I went and I downloaded it that night and we shared it. I shared it with Rashad.
After she downloaded it, I could tell the moment that she downloaded it. She was like, babe! Exclamation mark, exclamation. I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, I just downloaded this book. I know which moment it happened.
So I was super excited to share it with him because I feel like it would really help in the wedding night and moving forward in the marriage. So it did help, but so have an open mind and keep trying new things in terms of intimacy.
And be patient with each other. I mean, like Shamin said, it's your first time, you're just figuring everything out. You're not gonna be a professional. It's gonna take you time. You're gonna get accustomed. Like she said, sex is not just about the sexual act.
Exactly.
It's about the emotional part, about being vulnerable, being naked in front of somebody, having all your armor, having all your every facade that you've built up. You knock these things down. You're like, this is me in my most vulnerable, and somebody else is saying, this is me in my most vulnerable. It really helps to start off with a moment of prayer. I remember when I prayed when we got married, I said, dear Lord, please bless this coochie of which I'm about to partake. Because you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
God is watching you and God is looking at you like, yes.
And then just a piece of advice. I know as you begin, your body begins to yearn for the sex and everything, you just want to have the sex and you will reduce the amount of foreplay time. But advice to men, and I don't know if a woman go through it as well, like they begin to yearn for sex and it's no longer about foreplay or intimacy or spending time with the partner, but just having sex and satisfying that desire.
Itch. You want to scratch the itch.
You want to scratch the itch. Trust me. Affection and intimacy out of the bedroom helps in the bedroom.
That's true.
The little hugs, the kisses, the rubbing the feet, the touching the bum bum, the grabbing the breast, you in the kitchen cooking, the notes even, the little gifts, the little sex talk on the phone with your partner. With my married
at
couples
this
now.
point, sexting is okay.
Yes, at
the
this
little
point.
naked pictures that you send.
So it does help.
So Charmaine and I, we had actually downloaded an app. It's called Between, and it's just an app with just me and her. Because you don't want to know you sending pictures for your wife, and you accidentally drop it in the church WhatsApp group. All right, try to make sure. But even apart from that, sometimes just doing the chores around the house, just the words of affirmation, the gifts. It's not even just things that direct towards sex, but just being there and having this person every day see, listen, this is my person, this is my husband, this is my wife. The first time I referred to Charmaine as my wife, it was so foreign to me. This lady was talking to me, she's like,
You're here alone.
I'm just like, no, I'm here with my wife. it felt so, like I felt so giddy like a little kid, but it grows on you. And time.
So babe, let's speak about our experience.
Okay, let's talk about our experience.
You want to start? You want me to start?
Our first time experience?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got married on the 20th of August 2021. We had an early morning wedding. It started at 8 o'clock. Why?
Why though?
Because for lunchtime we wanted to be deep in the sauce. Really and true, we had to catch a boat. When we got married in St. Vincent, we wanted to catch a boat to the Grenadine Islands.
To Canawan.
Boat left at like 11:30.
Midday, around midday.
But I was really happy that we had the morning wedding because it allowed us time. We finished the wedding, we wrapped up everything, we got dressed, we took pictures, we jumped on the boat, crossed over to the other side.
So then when we got there, we got to our little Airbnb, and
beautiful.
it's like there was just like a big elephant in the room. It was
because listen.
You know that what comes next.
You know what comes next.
So
Charmaine, don't be playing around.
it's like you didn't know. We didn't know how to approach the topic. We didn't know how to start.
But it was what was there.
Yeah. So we got there.
And it's so easy to fall into sin when you're living or when you're trying to live right. Or, you just come by a house, you'll start kissing sin. But then now you're right. God is giving you the thumbs up, and you're shy. You're nervous.
I was super nervous. So I was like, babe, you hungry?
Yeah, she's like, you're hungry? I'm like, Charmaine, you know what I'm hungry for?
No, that's not true. Rashad, it was a different Rashad. Rashad was so shy. I've never seen Rashad like that in my life. He was so shy. He was so quiet. He was so calm. He's normally calm, but he was just really abnormally calm. So we made something to eat, and then we sat down on the chair. We sat like apart from each other, like we didn't even know what to do.
On two separate ends of the chair, and we're looking at each other, and we
didn't even know what to do.
Laugh still.
So then I was like, babe, let's go bathe. So then we went, we bathed together, and in my mind, okay, we're preparing for the moment.
Some more than others, because some people were prepped and ready. Guys, I had done everything I had to do.
Rashad shaved from head to toe.
The only thing that wasn't shaved on my body was my eyebrows. I was ready.
So I did not. Should I say that? Should I say it?
So she was not fully ready.
I was not fully ready. So Rashad had to help me, to become 100% ready.
100%.
Right?
Get her from the 98% to the 100%.
So Rashad helped me. And then while he was doing it, I was like a little uncomfortable. Like, yes, guys, he was helping me shave down there.
It was weird for me too. And then afterwards, we finish, we come out of the shower, and then we look at each other.
We went on the bed and we just watched each other.
Like, let's watch a movie. End up watching Netflix. She ended up falling asleep, and then she falls asleep. You know how it is. She falls asleep. I'm there, just my mind is racing at 100 miles per hour. I'm like, you know what? Let me wake her up. So I did what all guys do in this moment. I rolled over. I said, babe, you sleeping? Baby, you sleeping? And
I
I'm
knew-
sure she was pretending.
I was pretending to sleep
'Cause
because my body was yearning for it, but I didn't know how to tell him that, okay, babe, I'm ready. So then he.
I knew she was faking because when you shake somebody gently and they don't wake up, that's one thing. But when you violently shaking this person, hey, and they're not even making a sound,
Oh
you
my
can tell
God.
they're definitely faking it.
So, okay, so he's like, babe.
Might have to do a part two.
So he was like, babe, you ready? And I'm like, ready for what?
You ready for what? Oh, I don't know, Shamin. Ready to go take a walk? Ready to pray?
So I'm like, ready for what? So he's like, you know. I'm like,
You know.
So I'm like, are you ready? He's like, I think so. So then we made an attempt,
Yeah,
but it was super difficult for me. It was really, really painful. We used so much KY jelly, but it was really,
very, very
really painful. Like, I cried. I literally cried. So then we
And I felt
terrible.
I felt good and bad at the same time. It's this manly thing where you're like, oh yeah. But at the same time, I felt really sad because she was not having the experience that I dreamt that she would have had, and I would like to believe she was not having the experience that she herself dreamt that she would have had or given to her husband. So we kind of relaxed a bit. We went to watch the movie again. We kind of decided to not think about it much. We tried again, same thing. We tried again, same thing. It took us a very long time.
Because we even messaged other Christian couples,
Yeah.
asking them like what to do.
Yeah.
And they were telling us that they had similar experiences at the start,
Yeah.
and just give it time. So we continued to try. Each time we just push it a little further.
But you see how important it is to have accountability and people that you can just say, hey, this is what is happening in my marriage at this moment. Because it's not an easy thing for a woman to say, I'm having pain having sex. But for you to be able to have somebody you can trust and say, I'm having pain having sex, and they say, okay, this happened to me, or okay, thank you for sharing. Here's what you guys can consider trying. And eventually, by the grace of God, many attempts.
After many attempts.
Yes, we finally got it down.
Yeah.
And the one thing that for us in our specific situation, she may not actually gone on the pill, because she's like, I really want my husband to experience me in the way that God intended for him to experience me, not with no plastic bag separating us.
I really wanted to feel him inside me, but then the pill gave me a lot of side effects. I started to break out with acne. My breasts were really, really tender. I was super moody. I would get like headaches, and I decided to just come off of the pill. So another, point, you guys need to do your research on different forms and types of contraceptives. That's important.
We did say we'd have a video on that, talking about the abortive and the non-abortive ones.
And as you said that there are two types. My advice, us being Christians, go with the non-abortive one.
Yeah. But after that, we just kind of figured it out, and we're still in the process of figuring it out.
And we were always open with like the couples that were close, the one or two couples that were close to us. We were always open about our sex lives, and we encourage each other like what to do, what
like,
not to
why
do.
would you say this? Just the same way I can imagine some of you are watching this video and be like, why would they say this? It's just, I believe that the experiences that we have are not just for us. They're to share with everybody else. Some people may be going through very similar situations, be looking for similar advice.
Yeah, and I know that there is a community of women out there who, like, especially married women, where sex is really painful for them.
Even after being married for years.
Or even those who struggle with having very, very low libidos, and they don't know really how to please their husbands or to, just meet the expectations of their husband's sex drives. And I feel like, you can reach out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, so we spoke about so many things.
Yeah, and it was a good conversation.
It was a good conversation.
Actually.
You know what? We're gonna have to come and revisit this sex thing.
Yeah.
Guys, send us your questions. Leave them in the comments. Leave your questions in the comments. So for the next video that we're gonna tackle on sex again, we're gonna go through your questions. All right. Thank you so much for just sitting on the chair, the step with us, not the couch today.
We wanted to try something different.
So guys, have a blessed day.
And remember, remember to put God first
Oh.
in everything that you do.
I thought you were going to say to put lube first. But you're right. God first
And then lube.
and then lube.
Yes. Bye.